I love the idea of writing a movie about contemporary marriage. Instead of people who were getting divorced trying to destroy each other, two people who desperately want to stay together but are very bad at it.
This is the Box Office Podcast. I'm Daniel Loria, the editorial director of Boxoffice Pro, the pulse of theatrical exhibition. And in this week's episode, my colleague Chad Kennerk interviews Olivia Colman and Benedict Cumberbatch, the stars of the upcoming film The Roses, which is being released this Friday at a theater near you. He also speaks with the director Jay Roach and Tony McNamara, the screenwriter for the film. That is coming up in the second half of the episode today. But before we get there, we've got a lot of updates to go over, including the first number one weekend at the box office for Netflix. Welcome back, Rebecca Pahle and Chad Kennerk, my colleagues here at Boxoffice Pro. Guys, we're back into this with a lot of news, a lot of updates, and Rebecca finally made it back to the movies after getting some dental work done. I had some teeth removed last year. It is not easy to want to do anything.
It's not fun. I had dental work and then a computer screen issue, tech issue, back to back. I mean, I made it out to see Weapons again. I wanted to see Highest to Lowest. A friend of mine also had the same experience, and it wasn't playing in any AMC theaters. So that kind of plans fell by the wayside. You're planning to see it, I know.
I'm planning to see it. It's playing in a number of theaters, but of course AMC not booking the film, which is an Apple Films release that will be made available actually on streaming on September 5th. So I'm trying to hustle over to my local Alamo Draft House to see if I could check that out at their Yonkers location when I get back from Texas. I've been looking forward to it. It's always tough, with these shorter window movies that not every exhibitor is playing. And, in a related conversation, a movie that was not booked by AMC, that was available in streaming, that other theaters did program, ended up being the number one movie at the box office. I'm speaking about KPop Demon Hunters, the karaoke sing-along version.
It gives me kind of like Powerpuff Girls vibes.
Yeah, I think there's something there, right, for our older millennial generation to compare it to. But this movie just absolutely came out of nowhere and stole the number one spot at the box office in what was going to be a bad weekend. It's now not so bad thanks to that $18 to $20 million two-day theatrical run from this title. It wasn't the regular release that was in theaters for 2 or 3 weeks. It was just Saturday and Sunday.
Just 2 days, not even Friday, and not even playing at the largest exhibitor in the country. I mean, I wonder how much more it would have earned under different circumstances.
But the story here, not only is this the first number one opening weekend for a Netflix title, and as you mentioned, Rebecca, a Netflix title that didn't play in any AMC location anywhere in the country, that was only available in 37% of the theaters nationwide and only played on Saturday, Sunday, just a 2-day weekend for the title. Now, it's not a coincidence that Netflix gets this crown on what would have been a very bad opening weekend without this title, but it also shows us a model of where Netflix can be a real contributor to the domestic box office, whether they report the numbers or not. So I'm saying it made between $18 and $20 million in those 2 days because we don't know. Netflix does not report grosses. We are gathering this information from other publications claiming their own sources. So we are not verifying or confirming these grosses at all. We're just going with what I guess everyone's just saying.
So it's just going to get more and more interesting as you get Netflix releasing more and more movies in theaters on kind of the special engagement basis.
But, right now, I think the common knowledge that everyone is using is 18 to 20 million, only 2 days, no AMC locations. There's just so many things to unpack here. To begin with, the fact that a movie can open in first place without being in any AMC theater in the country is not something I would have told you could happen, even 10 days ago. I just did not think a movie could get to that position without the support of the largest exhibitor in the country. At the same time, I understand AMC's position of saying, we're not going to book this, because they've been very loud in saying we need a stronger and more consistent theatrical window. And I understand their position if they take a title from Netflix, or you mentioned the Apple title, Highest to Lowest, right?
Yeah, they can't really pick and choose there.
Yeah, I mean, if they treat one studio with a certain set of rules, what's stopping Paramount, Universal, or Disney coming back and saying, hey guys, wait a minute. How come the streamers are coming in with one set of rules and getting to your theaters, and we're coming in?
And us, your old friends, I mean, I'm getting like Trolls World Tour flashbacks just talking about it.
So it's a tricky situation that I think they're in, just because it's the largest circuit in the country. If it was any other circuit was the largest circuit in the country, we'd be speaking probably about them being in this position. So it's a nuanced conversation when we get there. The flip side of this conversation is, well, why did everybody else book it? Well, I think we have to be very clear in saying this is a 2-day event booking.
It's event cinema.
It wasn't a 3-week run.
Yeah.
It's event, exactly. It's event cinema. I think if Netflix had come out to exhibitors and saying, hey, we have something that you can only play for 10 or 12 days on a regular run, I think that would have been different. But what Netflix did was very smart. It went out to whoever wanted to book it with favorable terms and said, hey, we're offering you a 2-day event that we're going to help launch in your theaters. Take it or leave it in one of the worst weekends of the year. Now, as I understand that, I can confirm this because I've spoken to several exhibitors that reached out to Netflix to try to book this. This wasn't made available to everyone. This was made available to some folks in some cities and some markets. And at a certain point, if you came too late to the party, they weren't taking any more bookings. Okay, fine. I don't think that's the best way to do business. I think, as you mentioned, Rebecca, you're probably leaving money on the table by just doing a 2-day run or not having a follow-up weekend and including more people.
I just feel bad. I mean, I'm assuming it's a lot of independent movie theaters that got left out.
Yeah, basically that's it, right? I think it's super frustrating. And I understand if you want to limit the sort of fronts on one weekend. I think an ideal scenario for this title would have been bring it back next weekend. Right? Bring it back on this Friday, bring it back this Saturday, and get everybody that wanted to come in on week one, get them back in here. But at the end of the day, I really see both sides of the conversation here. I understand AMC's position by being the number one circuit and having to have standardized terms with their distributors. And I understand the position of everybody else that said, hey, this is going to be one of the worst weekends of the year. There's a title that's exciting. We're going to book it as event cinema. And it worked out fine. And if we can get into a rhythm or in a future where Netflix can play this role with cinemas and coming in very slow weekends and having special runs of one thing or another, I think we're in a good situation. I wouldn't treat something like Narnia this way, right? I wouldn't treat something like a Knives Out sequel this way. But if we're talking about a 2-day sing-along for kids, yeah, people are going to latch onto this.
Netflix has made it clear that they're okay leaving money on the table theatrically, but do you think the headlines, being number one, having their name in the conversation, does that entice them to do more event cinema or look at more limited runs?
Are we going to be seeing another version of this in January?
I don't see why not. I think it's great press. I know exhibitors were really happy with it, right? The ones that were able to book it. I wonder if they had a little bit more lead time to reach out to more folks. I wonder if they would be able to get more theaters in having this 2-day run. I don't know, but I think it's a good point, Chad, that you bring up after the great headlines from something like this. And the fact that they were able to leverage the theatrical experience as a bonus to something that's available on their streaming platform, I don't see why they wouldn't. To be honest, we have to give Netflix credit, and specifically the theatrical distribution team they've got over there that Spencer Klein is heading up over at Netflix for a number of years now. Whenever they get the opportunity to hit it out of the park, whenever they let them work, they know how to release a movie. They do really well with the exhibitors that work with them. So we know that they have a very experienced, very well-regarded theatrical distribution team over there. I think it's more company policy that's holding them back. Even the terms that they have with cinemas, as we know, as we've heard off the record, we're not going to name names here, but we've heard that the terms that Netflix give theater owners in the terms of the splits or the percentages of the ticket the theater owners get to keep are very favorable to theater owners. So this is really, on an event cinema basis, I think a good combination. If studios can't provide a 52-week release calendar with competitive titles that are well marketed for the theatrical experience, and by the way, well marketed doesn't mean go see it in IMAX. That's not well marketed. Well marketed means go see it in theaters, not just in one
Netflix like
format.
bombarding, like, this is in theaters, come see this. Yeah.
Yeah. So if we don't have that from the studios, if Netflix can come in as an alternative and offer you a 2-day event of something from their catalog, I think it's going to be a nice boost to the box office every time they do it. I wouldn't read too much into this. I think this is a one-off for now, Chad, to go back to your question. But there's definitely very interesting questions going towards the future, because I think in the next slow weekend that we have, if Netflix offers something similar, I think more exhibitors take it. This weekend's going to be another uphill battle at the box office, but we do have 3 new titles that are going to be vying to put some life into the marketplace. We've got from Cineverse, The Toxic Avenger, and I know that's a movie that you've been looking forward to, Rebecca.
Yeah, it's a reboot of the Trauma classic that is definitely known for being goopy and weird. I was never a big Trauma person. I love that they would require anything for distribution back in the day. So you have a lot of really interesting, low budget LGBT early films that are Trauma films.
It launched careers. Peter Jackson made Trauma movies. James Gunn, obviously huge name.
So I'm definitely curious. It has a great cast. Peter Dinklage as Toxie. So that one, Darren Aronofsky coming on with his most accessible movie yet.
Yeah, Caught Stealing. I'm watching this on Monday. Chad, are you watching it before the weekend?
Yeah, I'll have seen it by the time we release this episode. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm hearing good things.
I know a bunch of the trailer has shots from Flushing Meadows Park, which is where I will be this weekend for a Met situation. So I feel like I have to.
You're that much of
if they're doing a block party. I like free entertainment. You're seeing the
Mets implode in person. I can't believe you're doing this with your time.
Hey, I don't smack talk the Unisphere, okay? That's a whole different situation.
6 games back, that's all I have to say. 6 games back, that's fine.
What was the score for last night's game with the Phillies?
You won 13-3, and also you booted the Phillies from last year's playoffs. I know and that. You remind me every time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You remind me every time. Now we sound like the married couple from The Roses, Rebecca. That's how this is going to be devolving in this podcast, which actually is very fitting because that's the 3rd wide release that is coming out this weekend from Searchlight Pictures. Chad, you went to the junket. You got to speak to a bunch of people. Tell us a little bit about the interviews we're about to hear.
Yeah, so The Roses, a contemporary reimagining of The War of the Roses, both the novel and the Danny DeVito 1989 film with Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner. This kind of flips the script on the divorce scenario. So it's great to see comedies back on the big screen. I got to talk to Olivia Colman and Benedict Cumberbatch, and also director Jay Roach of Meet the Parents, Austin Powers, and then screenwriter Tony McNamara of course, The Favorite and Poor Things.
Yeah, I know that this has been a pairing that people have really wanted Olivia and Benedict to work together for a long time. Fans of theirs, I know they've wanted to work together for a long time. So should be a bunch of people excited to see this film when it's out this weekend from Searchlight.
You mentioned the original was directed by Danny DeVito. I had no idea, Chad.
Yeah.
That is good bar trivia, man. I had no clue. And without further ado, let's go into those interviews. First up is screenwriter Tony McNamara and director Jay Roach speaking with Chad Kennerk.
We need more comedies on the big screen, even when they're actually tragedies at heart. What was the seed for reimagining The Roses?
Yeah, the seed was it started with Olivia and Ben wanting to work together and Searchlight and conversations about what that could be, and the suggestion about War of the Roses. And I'd read the book and, of course, loved the movie, but I didn't want to do a remake. But I did. I loved the idea of writing a movie about contemporary marriage. Instead of people who were getting divorced trying to destroy each other, 2 people who desperately want to stay together but are very bad at it. And so that was sort of the idea of how we would reimagine it, was sort of flip it and flip the gender roles and just look at it in a more contemporary way, I guess.
Jay, when you came in, what was that development process like, with the 2 of you collaborating together and getting this project off the ground?
It was fantastic. Tony was involved all through prep. In the movie, it's still, as we always say, writing never stops in a film. And so the collaboration was excellent. And one of the enjoyable things about it for me is once you start casting everybody else, Tony started adjusting the characters for Andy Samberg and Kate McKinnon and all the rest of these incredible players. We just had fun kind of workshopping it with the cast and ourselves and continuing to evolve it. But it always stayed tight and true to Tony's original concept of this reimagining. And it was always, to me, sort of heartbreaking and hilarious at the same time, which the range of that within this project is so much greater than anything I'd ever tried before. And so I really fell for the challenge right away.
And Olivia and Benedict are such a dynamic duo. What was that collaboration like with them and your shoot together?
Well, they're both so hilarious. I love that Benedict doesn't think he's as funny as she is, and he is so funny. And so there's a line when he says, how about a 3-hour circular argument that leads nowhere? And it's so sexy and so funny and weird, and it's totally true and insightful about how relationships work, and I'm so glad to see, I think he sees now too that they're just, people are rooting for each of them in turn. Neither wins, neither loses. They're both fighting for their love and fighting for, their humanity against ego and greed and all the other things that mess with relationships. And it's a pretty compelling thing with the two of them going at each other. It's fantastic.
When I thought about reimagining it, I was thinking of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf and even those 70s movies, Harold and Maude and Annie Hall, sort of that darker adult sort of comedies that they kind of used to make a lot more of, I guess.
The Graduate, yeah, we shared a lot of these references. Yeah, we both crave more of that, and I hope people start making more movies like this.
How do you walk that balancing act on the page, Tony, and then for you, Jay, in the editing room?
Yeah, I think it's sort of what I love to do. It is like a balancing act, and you're always trying to go. I think I always go, is it emotionally truthful? And if I can answer yes, then I always feel like I've got license enough, if I've built the characters well enough, that they can be incredibly stupid and funny, but they can also be the darker side of us. And it's sort of running back and forth across, as long as the basic is truthful, there's a space where you can go from ridiculous to sort of heartfelt and dark. And I think that's on the page. And then the difficult part is then actually doing that on the stage, when Jay has to do that with the actors.
No pressure. It was, we're coming with the expectations of the original and then working with, the kind of screenwriting Tony is famous for. It was daunting, but I'll tell you, there's another third leg in that you were saying, that it's dark and serious sometimes, and then it's sometimes ridiculous. But there's a third thing, which is sometimes really sentimental.
Yeah.
And I think that mattered more than I would have imagined, and maybe more than people might have imagined based on the original too, is that there's a commitment to the actual romantic, sentimental love thing. And it helps you come back, and it helps explain why they're fighting for their relationship so much.
Jay, you've said that you need films to be personal in some way in order to engage them as a director.
I do find myself needing to have a vicarious empathy, some kind of cathartic experience through the characters. And I did identify with caring so much, but then also losing track sometimes because you're too busy or you're caught up in all the distractions of the modern world, and you forget to how fragile some of what you have relied upon is, and how you just don't, sometimes work. I was making this reference. There was a film in the 70s called Love Story, where the motto was, love means never having to say you're sorry. And I think what this film teaches you is love means saying you're sorry all the time, because, the only way to really survive a relationship is to be aware of your fuck-ups and to be willing to admit to them once in a while. And then the other one is attitude of gratitude. My mom used to always say that, which is you got to be grateful enough for what you have, that it matters enough to keep fighting for it.
A lot of things can happen around a dinner table too, or a dinner party in this case. I feel like you both have expertise in that area on the screen.
Yeah, I think we both love dinner parties. And I think I love writing them. As an ex-playwright, they're kind of like, they're where you can really ground a lot of stuff in one place and put people under emotional pressure, and there's the social comedy aspect. So they are like a joy to write. And, Jay's done so many great ones. They are where particularly marriages often end up sort of in crisis at a dinner party in front of other people. And I find that weird, but I feel like it's actually something that does happen quite often.
It's also the great the greatest form of comedy torture in a certain way for the characters because they can't leave.
Yeah.
You're going to, whatever is happening, you're probably going to have to stick it out. It would be so weird if you just got up and walked out of your own dinner party.
Right.
So they, especially in this scene, it was one of my favorite scenes when I read the script. They're really at it as intensively as they've been in the entire story, but they've invited friends over and they have this big new house and they have to just stick it out no matter and some unbelievably horrible things get said and it escalates and escalates and escalates and you're like, oh no, when it's like it really was fun and it was the scene I was looking forward to shooting the most and it exceeded my expectations partly because of everybody else we brought to the table. There was such a great cast around them.
For each of you, did you grow up going to the movie theater? And if so, does one memory stand out for you?
I didn't. I grew up in a small country town and we didn't have a movie theater. So I didn't really go until I was about 15 or 16. And I remember seeing Mad Max and that was... And that had quite an impact on me.
In Australia, too.
Australia, My first memories are Australian movies like Mad Max and Picnic Hanging Rock and Breaking Morant. And they were the movies my parents, I think, in a fit of patriotism, because they didn't really ever go to the movies, would take us to these movies. And Mad Max being very different to Picnic from Hanging Rock. But
what a pedigree, though. What a genetic memory. Because those were some of my favorite films later.
Yeah.
I had the opposite. I didn't get to go to movies that much either, but my parents would take us in drive-ins, and my dad was he was a draftsman in the defense industry, and I think he thought he was James Bond because we just kept going to see James Bond movies, which paid off with when I got to do Austin Powers.
Totally.
But later, I was saying earlier that it's films like we were talking about before, The Graduate, Shampoo, even Eraserhead. Like I kind of came into my own watching films in college later and said, these can help you cope with how screwed up you feel yourself about everything and how fun it would be to make a movie that could do that.
If you go to the concession stand at a movie theater, what's your favorite thing to get?
I just get popcorn. That's all I get.
I used to like Milk Duds and Raisinets. Those were my standard. That was a real indulgence. I hope people go back to the theaters and buy tons of concessions. If selling concessions is what it takes to have movies in theaters, I'm all for it. Whatever it takes to make them profitable, just so people get to go back and, especially in comedies, get to go back and laugh with each other and lose
there's
their
nothing
minds.
like that communal experience of laughter.
Come on, let's do it.
Yeah.
That was director Jay Roach and screenwriter Tony McNamara of The Roses. And coming up after this break, we're speaking with actors Olivia Colman and Benedict Cumberbatch. Imagine a world where your cinema's digital experience is as unforgettable as the movies you show. At Boxoffice, we strive to make that world a reality. We offer innovative solutions like custom-built websites, mobile apps, and user-friendly ticketing pages, crafted to meet the unique needs of cinemas. It's all about enhancing customer loyalty and making booking a breeze. Take your cinema's online experience to the next level with Boost. Contact us today at sales@boxoffice.com to learn more.
When did you two initially meet?
Well, we were trying to put that together.
I think we've worked it out.
15 years ago. Apparently I was in a baggy jumper doing a radio play that all drama, all comedy.
It was in a radio studio anyway, or a voiceover studio about 15 years ago.
Previous lifetime, and yet we've been good friends ever since. We bumped into each other a lot and go, it'd be so nice to work together. And we've had a lot of fun as friends. We've done letters live together, events we do, which is great. This is the first time in front of a camera together probably. And it was joyous.
In wanting to find a project to work on together, what was the seed for the reimagining of The Roses?
Us wanting to work together, firstly.
Yeah.
Really
and
was.
then some people who actually do have some sway heard us,
basically.
some grown-ups, and they said, okay.
David Greenbaum, who owned a copy of the IP, Tony, who is the brilliant writer, and they were working on The Favourite. Olivia was doing some publicity in Venice, and we had a coffee when she was doing press and said, should we? And Tony pitched it to me and then to Olivia, or to Olivia first and then me, I don't know. But anyway, the point is we just sat back and went, yeah, that sounds like a great use of our time. I want to do it.
Yeah.
And then waiting for a script.
Yeah. Yeah, and when it arrived, it was sort of it was almost,
It was Christmas. I mean, it wasn't literally necessarily Christmas, but you open that script and go, lots of prezzies here.
Yeah.
Every job is unique. How did you initially approach this project and these characters?
See, I was tempted to make something up, but
just do it, please. I want you to do it.
Okay.
Do Michael Gambon. Michael Gambon used to just lie in every interview. I say lie, just make stuff up. I mean,
I went deep into the culinary world and slept in kitchens. I can't do it.
Can't do it. Can I do it for you?
No, we didn't. It was all in the script, and that's it.
Yeah.
Unlike me, normally, I don't think I even sat down with a pen and pad to sort of do some architectural drawing. No, I did buy some copies of Architectural Digest.
Oh my God!
No, I did.
See?
I started imagining what kind of architect he was. And then when KPop, brilliant costume designer, was sort of flinging things at me, I was like, okay. And then I was looking at people who dress like that and going, okay. But just to say, I mean, you do put a lot of thought. She's always downplaying the work she does do, which is often just bringing herself to set is the work. And I don't mean it's just because she doesn't want to do that. I mean, she's so authentic and so immediate. And so she has such accessible gifts and it's just there. She gives a great reading on the first time. You don't really want to muck around with it much. And
that's exactly what you do.
I think I'm trial and error and I'm happy to own it. I don't think either way is better or worse, but
no.
I think, some things are like immediate.
Totally nailed.
Oh, bless you. Bless you. But,
it was fun. Straight the moment we did our first read-through, and okay, we're all there.
Playing characters in their most horrible moments is deliciously therapeutic, I would imagine. Was that your experience?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
It is. I think we're lucky as actors when you have a day of shouting and stuff at home, you do get it all out of your system.
And you learn what not to do,
Yeah.
You just go home going, I'm a bit wiser for not being that person.
Yeah.
There's nothing like the communal nature of the cinema, and there's something really vicarious about watching characters that just let it rip.
Yeah.
Agreed. I can't wait to watch this with an audience, especially an American audience, actually. Well, no, either, actually. I don't know why I said especially.
Yes, I
think in general, maybe because American audiences are, this is a generalization, tend to be more voluble, more outward in their expression of appreciation or anxiety or horror.
Because I don't like horror films, for example, but I was imagining watching a comedy with a communal sort of laughter is so lovely. Equally, I imagine watching a horror with a whole cinema of people going,
it's much more fun as well. Yeah. I can't watch it on my own. I thought I was alone one night at my parents' and I'll watch, what's on telly? Blair Witch Project, that'll be all right.
No!
Little telly that size of this computer screen. But by the end, I was kind of like, I was just like going, where can I'm not safe. There's nowhere in this house I'm safe. It was horrifying.
Oh, no.
Horrifying. But when you're doing it communally, you can go, you can laugh a little bit, or you can feel that a reaction's shared, therefore you're not alone, and you walk out into reality with about, 100 plus other people.
I would love to watch this with, when will we see it with an audience?
Whenever you want, love. Test screenings abound, a press screening. Well, and then there's obviously the premieres.
Jay talked about the dinner party and the fact as hosts that Theo and Ivy are essentially trapped at the table, and he referred to it as comedic torture. What was that scene like to film? I'm sure it was really fun.
I also, I was sitting with Jay, and he said he liked the dinner party scene because we couldn't change our blocking.
Yeah.
I think.
No wandering actors.
Because finally they will have to sit down.
It's true. Ballroom scenes must be a nightmare in that regard.
Yeah.
You've still got to get around everyone, and there's all that movement. It was I loved it. We loved it.
Yeah,
we loved it. You just front row seats for the brilliance of McKinnon and Sandberg especially. I mean, Kate would not be able to get to the end of a first attempt at a new alt. And just to know that she's looking down the line of what she has to say and can't face it. That's a cue for everyone to just
I wish that had gone on for longer.
I would honestly, if I was in a bad mood, that's something I'd like to have on loop, is just seeing her go through those alts and not be able to make it.
The surrogate eating airport sushi.
I mean, I don't remember which one's in the film now. We literally were treated to
so
line
many
after line of brilliance.
Ridiculous. She's brilliant.
And her and Andy as well, they dance in the way that those cast members of SNL do. They were so quick to reinvent and plus the script, which is a hard thing to do when it's Tony McNamara.
Olivia, how many cakes did you massacre in that scene?
I think only one.
And she nailed it. I mean, the best bit is the bit of icing you got dripping off Kate's nose. Oh. I don't know how Kate didn't laugh. I mean, we were all laughing.
No, well, thank God she held it together, because I could never have done it twice.
And also to clean up her costume, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
See what I mean? She does it first time.
Honestly, that doesn't normally happen.
there's an essence of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf kind of provide an emotional undercurrent to the comedy. How did you find that balance in your work?
Through Tony's script and Jay, really.
I'm really sorry it was down to them.
We talked a lot as well, but we're within the context of a day's work. But it is, there's no secret sauce recipe there. It's just brilliant people around us and a wonderful script.
Yeah, to quote Tony Hopkins.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
It was an excellent roadmap. Follow the roadmap, you can't go wrong.
I love him. I just worked with him.
Have you?
Yeah. Guy Ritchie film. He was my boss. Oh, we got a lot to talk about.
So is Tony's writing, is it so precise that it leads you to the moment, or do you like to give wildly different takes?
I do like to give wildly different takes. I always feel that I'm very, very, very lucky, especially with material this good, and I just don't want to leave it until I know it's all on the dance floor. And if there's enough space for me to do that, great. One of my biggest fears is when a director comes over and goes, "That was great," and I go, "Oh no! I want to try something else." No, don't. Forget it. I want to try something, and I can sometimes get stuck in a rut with certain things because they require a particular focus. If it's a very, very highly emotional scene, sometimes that's the one.
That's good. I admire that. I've never asked for another go. I'm always too embarrassed.
I do it too much. I've kind of lost my thing of that. That might be the thing that drives people most mad about me. But I can live with that. I can live with that. Yeah, I just love doing what we do as well. I love trying to turn the problem around and come at it with different. There's only going to be one take. You know that as a director, you probably already got it. But I think it's nice to let actors just go, "Oh, come on, we're not doing theatre here." As long as we're not wasting everyone's time and people can get home to their families, let's do another one. It's our last chance, and then it's done forever. And it was genuinely so much fun to play. But I like to vary it up a bit. Also, I'm not as confident or comfortable as Olivia is with comedy. Before she blew everyone away with Tyrannosaur, she was also an extremely gifted actress primarily in comedy, and she can do it all, as we know. And people who can do comedy mostly can do it all, but she's at the zenith of both.
But you can do it all.
Well, I wanted to try. But at the same time, I hadn't done so much before. So I guess it was me going, taking the business of comedy quite seriously, which you have to do.
But that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you nailed it.
So, trying different ways, going, I don't know, you decide.
Did you grow up going to the cinema? If so, is there a specific memory that stands out?
I have said this before, so forgive me, but I remember my granny took me to see Bambi, which was an absolute disaster. So it was so sad right at the beginning that she had to take me home again. Ruined it for everybody.
I saw Bambi in the cinema. I definitely saw it at home.
I think because it was out years and years before I was born, but she thought, "Oh, she'll like this. It's about a little deer."
It's so traumatic.
No.
Whose mother gets shot in front of her.
Yeah.
It's really dark.
Awful. And Dumbo.
Thanks, Disney. There's a lot of that.
Oh my God,
Yeah,
his mother is cradling.
Don't.
Oh, I can't bear it.
It's really awful. I think the first film I ever saw actually in the cinema was Octopussy. Very deeply unsuitable, looking at all the cliche and the innuendo and stuff. But anyway, loved it. Gorgeous people, an amazing adventure, and things in tuk-tuks. It was quite a thing at the time for me. And then, I think it was one of the Indiana Jones, but my friend Toby suddenly was like, "Where's Toby?" My parents, this is. And they'd lost him. He'd got up to go to the loo and wandered into the wrong cinema. We didn't know that. So the film got shut down. "I'm sorry, but we've lost a child. We need to find," people with flashlights, the police came.
No.
And then they went into the neighbouring cinema, which was showing Supergirl. And Toby was sat there very, very happy watching Supergirl.
And you just heard from Olivia Colman and Benedict Cumberbatch in conversation with box office pros Chad Kennerk. Earlier, you heard from the film's director, Jay Roach, and screenwriter, Tony McNamara. And in the feature and news segment, you heard from myself, Daniel Loria, Chad Kennerk, and our colleague, Rebecca Pahle. The Box Office Podcast will be out with a new episode next week. New episodes every Thursday, so don't forget to subscribe, and we will talk to you soon.